This is the public memorial for Mayor Val Carr. My name is Michael Lawson. I'm the city manager for the City of Woodland Park. And on behalf of the city, we are honored to host this memorial here in our beautiful memorial park. It seems aptly named for today, certainly. We have a number of guests here today. I'd like to recognize Sherry Carr and the Carr family. We appreciate you being here with us. And we know it's been a long, difficult time for you this year. And thank you for coming here to Woodland Park and sharing this time with our community. I'd also like to recognize our elected officials, our city council. I don't know if the city council would like to stand or raise their hands. They can do so if they like. And also our county commissioners. Again, if you want to raise your hands, you can. And our county sheriff, Jason there in the back, and we're missing any other elected folks?
Right here.
All right.
Mark Baisley, Representative Mark Baisley.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Mr. Baisley. I am told that we have a kind of a unique guest in Scout, who's a late addition. We're glad Scout could be here. As I understand, Val spent many hours on Scout, living the true Woodland Park lifestyle, and Scout has Val's saddle on his hat there as well. It's a fitting addition, certainly. I'd also like to thank the Woodland Park Wind Symphony and Brass Ensemble. Craig and his team, thank you for being here. We appreciate it certainly very much. So we'll keep it relatively brief this afternoon. We have a few speakers, but before I introduce those other speakers, I'd like to share just one of my memories of Val. I'm relatively new to town. I got here late last year, but I've shared with a few folks before that my favorite memory of Val was actually right here under this pavilion during Christmas time. He had a top hat on, and he was just belting out Christmas tunes, and he was kind of dancing and singing at the top of his lungs. And being the manager at that time, assistant manager, had a fairly serious relationship with Val, and it was like, all right, guy can cut loose a little bit. That's good. I appreciate that. I'm kind of a goofball myself, so I appreciate being able to level with folks like that. And so when I do think of Val, certainly we've dealt with some difficult things together, mayor and manager and for the city, but quite naturally that's the memory that comes to mind. And I really appreciate that about him, that he did have a lighter side. He did want to have fun. He expressed to me before his passing that he had a genuine desire to build bridges with the staff and with the community through more events like that we had at Christmas. And that really resonated with me. As a manager, you certainly want your elected officials to have that bond with the staff. And I really like that he wanted to do that. It is fitting that we're here today under this pavilion where he had so many fun times, a place that was so important to him. We will have 4 speakers here this afternoon. They are going to share their memories of Mayor Carr, and then we'll have our final speaker, Mayor Pro-tem Hilary LaBarre, share the memorial plaque that we have ordered to honor Mayor Carr as well. At the conclusion of the remarks this afternoon, I would ask that folks stay seated and allow the Carr family to get up and leave first, as they have another event to go to this afternoon. After that, you're certainly welcome to stay and chat if you like, or if you have other places to be this afternoon, of course, feel free to do so. So our first speaker today will be City Clerk Suzanne Leclercq. She will be followed by Steve Woolf, founder of Wild Heart Teacher, longtime friend of Mayor Carr. He will be followed by County Commissioner Erik Stone, also a longtime friend and colleague of the mayor. And then finally, Mayor Pro-tem LaBarre. So with that, I will invite Suze to come to the mic.
Thank you. Sherry, Sheena, James, Jason, Sierra, Emma, Alyssa, and Isabella Carr. Elected officials, city staff, and community members. As the city clerk for our beloved city of Woodland Park, it is a great privilege and honor to speak at the memorial service today for our late Mayor Carr. As the city clerk for the city, I have a very close relationship with our mayor and our council members. I had known Val from this community for the many boards and commissions he had sat on before he volunteered to become a city council member. Once Val became elected to the city council, we started to work together very closely. Val was a man that wanted details, procedures, and policies for everything. Right, Sherry? As a council member, Val wrote policies and procedures for the city council, which we never had before. For all the years that council had operated, there were never any procedures and policies in place. At the time Val wrote them, I did not realize how important or needed they were. Over the past year, and especially the past few months, I cannot tell you how many times myself and the current city council have referred to them, and each and every time we do so, I am so thankful for Val for creating them. Val constantly challenged me as a city clerk. Sometimes he would frustrate me and make me angry, even at times make me cry. Now looking back on this, I feel that his challenging me helped me with my professional growth, which I am completely thankful for. A couple of fond memories that I'd like to share with you. Some of them may be duplicates from what Michael said, but let me start with this one. One time I was driving in the car with my granddaughter Lily, who was 14 years old. Val called me as I was driving, and I answered through the Bluetooth on my phone. I answered quickly and said, "Mayor, just so you know, you're on speakerphone, and I have my granddaughter in the car." I wanted him to know that right away before he said anything, because you never knew what he was going to say. Val's voice turned into the sweetest voice I ever heard him speak in, and he began to have a full-blown conversation with my granddaughter, asking her, "How old are you? What school do you go to?" Talking like that. "What activities are you involved in?" When he was done, he said, "Thank you for talking to me, sweetheart," and then forgot what he called me for. He was so interested in talking to my granddaughter. It was so authentic. And when we hung up, my granddaughter said, "Nanny, he is such a nice person. I like that he is our mayor." That made me realize something about Val that I did not know, how much he liked children. And I see some of you probably have lots of fond memories of your grandpa sitting here, right here in the front row. He loved children. Some of our fondest memories have taken place right here at this pavilion with Val. As a staff, we really enjoyed seeing this side of Val right here in this pavilion. Halloween, Val dancing and handing out treats to all the children. As Michael said, right here at this pavilion at Christmas time, during the tree lighting, hanging out with the kids and belting out Christmas carols. What a fun side of him that we got to see on those events. Val also had a very warped sense of humor. I think some of the family and friends may know this. Years ago, I will never forget this. Years ago, Val decided he wanted his final resting place in the Woodland Park Cemetery. He asked me if I would meet him out there to show him available plots. I got there before Val did, and when he pulled up and got out of his car, he said to me, "Suze, I thought you would have had the whole Dougal ready for me." It caught me off guard. It really caught me off guard, but I realized he was making a joke. He was just trying to see what my reaction would be to that. I think of that now as we lay him in his final resting place. He wanted everything prepared for Sherry in the event of his passing so that she knew exactly what to do. In the final hours of his life, Sherry shared with me that she would play music for Val on his headphones. Sherry shared with me that one of his favorite songs and the one he listened to during that time was Stairway to Heaven. That surprised me because I never took Val as a Led Zeppelin fan. But here we are today, gathering to celebrate and memorialize Val as he now has walked his final steps up to the stairway in heaven. I would like to leave you all with a poem that reminded me of Val when I read it. Excuse me. Live a life that matters, ready or not. Someday it will all come to an end. There will be no more sunrises, no more minutes, hours, or days. All the little things you collected, whether treasured or forgotten, will pass to someone else. Your wealth, fame, and temporal power will shrivel to irrelevance. It will not matter what you owned or what you were owed. Your grudges, resentments, frustrations, and jealousies will finally disappear. So too your hopes, ambitions, plans, and to-do lists will expire. The wins and losses that once seemed so important will fade away. It won't matter where you came from. It won't matter whether you were beautiful or brilliant. Even your gender or your skin color will be irrelevant. So what will matter? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, or sacrifice that enriched, empowered, or encouraged others to emulate your example. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people you knew, but how many will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories that live on in those who loved you. What will matter is how long you will be remembered and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. Rest in peace, Val, and thank you for living a life that matters.
Sherry, what an honor it is for me to be able to stand forth and speak to Val. When I think of Val, I just think of full of life. I think you mentioned we had right back here, Val was standing next to Santa Claus with his gigantic hat on, and I knew Santa personally. And in fact, I was very very, very close to him at that moment. And to sit back there and be able to sing with Val, and what was great was we had the words printed, but neither one of us could see them, and so the words, the actual verses we sang may not have been actual verses, so it was good to see. But that was the last time I had an opportunity to be under this pavilion with Val, and there's been other activities and times we've been able to do that. And as I reflected on Val's life, it reminded me of a study that was done back in the early 80s where they took 50 people, put them in the room, and all of them were 95 years and older. And they asked them, if you could live life again, what would you do different? And they all kind of gave the same three answers. And the first answer was they would reflect more. And if you spent time around Val loved to reflect. We have an opportunity, and I knew Val's history, and it was great to be able to hear, because the 95-year-old said, if you don't continue to rework that in your mind, it disappears. And when you're 95, no amount of Bill Gates' monies matters in your life. The only thing that matters are those reflections. And we talked about when he met Sherry and a blind date, and I'll speak to taking a risk in a minute. And to be able to, his opportunity to be able to work as an engineer and have his own company, and to retire early and to be able to invest his life differently. He didn't retire, he refired. And that's a challenge to all of us to be able to do, and reflect on those moments as a coach. And we may even have some of his players here. And I think he coached his sons, and just to have an opportunity to do that was huge to him. He was so proud of his family and to be able to have an opportunity, and he'd reflect on that often. I see some of our city council members here. If you've been around city council members, Val would reflect right there. And I did, and whatever that was, because he'd done a lot of things and experienced a lot of life. So reflect, and Val did that. The second thing they said, if they could live life again, they would take more risk. Lay it out on the line a little bit. Make your life count. Val took a risk. Hey, I think I'll retire when I'm 45. And, I've got t-shirts that old. And to be able to see someone do that was amazing to me. But he didn't just retire, he refired. He was excited about the people in his life, the people that are here, the community, his family, and he started investing his life differently. And it's an opportunity, it's an example for all of us to do the same. Val, I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with him, and we didn't always agree on everything, politically or otherwise, but that didn't matter. Val was my friend, and he was not afraid to take a risk. But when my son passed away this last summer, one of the first calls I got, Val Carr. He reached out, and there's events that have happened in my life that sometimes people will abandon you. Not Val. He was there and willing to take a risk and still hang out with me. The third thing they would do if they could live life again is to do more things that would last on long after they're gone. And Val has done that. We're going to talk about that shortly when we have a little unveiling here. But, that's what Val did. He invested in you, invested in this community. He invested, I see this, I just think of the rodeo. That's one of the first things he came and talked to me about. And if you've been around Val would show up in your office, and my saddle is in my office, which he liked. And he would say, Steve, I've got an idea. And he had like 50 of those a day. And so an idea for you to do. And it was great. And I love that. I love to be able to have that interaction and constantly looking. Val lived on this earth 26,219 days. 26,219. All our days are numbered. And if Val could speak to us today, he'd say, take those days, grab them, live them to the max. Invest your life into things that matter. Woodland Park matters. He invested his life there. Sherry matters. He invested his life there. His family matters. He invested his life there. Love spending time in different organizations, his church and otherwise. It was an honor to know Val. It was a pleasure to know Val and watch him move about. He will be missed. He is loved. And I just thank you for that opportunity to speak to him. Sherry, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to thank Sherry and the Carr family. I'd like to thank Mayor Pro-tem Hilary, LaBarre, and City Manager Michael Lawson for asking me to come speak here at Val's Memorial. He was a good friend for a lot of years, and he reached out a lot. Before I was even an elected official, he had a huge group of people that he looked to for advice. He looked to a lot of times people with strong opinions, you think that it's their way or the highway, and sometimes it seems like that's what it is. But Val actually had a very large group of people that counseled him and gave him advice, and he thought about that, and then sometimes he took it, and sometimes he didn't, because that's who Val was. But he never stopped asking. So I'm very honored to be here, to speak about the life of our friend and mayor, late Mayor Val Carr. and Sherry, my most sincerest condolences to you, your entire family. When I began to think about what I wanted to say about Val, sometimes I'll sit down and I'll just start writing words down, individual words that describe people. And then I began to notice on my list of words that there were a lot of words on there that just by chance all happened to start with the letter P. So, when I first got to know Val, he was already on council, and I can recall the great passion that he had. He had passion for the City of Woodland Park and for his role on council, and that his passion though went far beyond that, as people have already spoken to here today. Because not many people know, Val was also very passionate about music. So much so that later in life he actually took up opera. People talk about his singing, but there's singing and then there's opera. And for someone to take up opera, myself as a music lover myself, when I was in college, I actually studied music. I actually sang some arias. I was a music major for a while. And it takes a lot for somebody to do that, later in life. But Val's the type of person that would try new things and to really stretch himself. And because of that, it actually brings me to another P that I saw on my list, which is purpose. Because Val lived his life with purpose every single day. Whether it was building his successful businesses, serving the people of Woodland Park, every single day had a purpose. Serving on boards and commissions, serving the church. Even when Val was in the hospital, he was calling and emailing people in his capacity to fulfill his role as mayor. Which actually kind of brings me to another P that was on that list, which was perseverance. I don't think I've ever met anyone, male or female, that had the perseverance of Val Carr. When he had a goal, he was like a dog on a bone, and he didn't ever want to give up on it. And he had the perseverance that he ran for mayor, lost the race, and he ran again. Not many people have that level of dedication that when they have a vision, want to accomplish something, that when they fail, they keep at it. They have the perseverance. And so he ran again and became elected mayor. He had the perseverance to root out debt within the city and find all of it, and then help put together a plan to retire that debt. And so, sometimes when you're a person of perseverance, it also means you have to stand alone for what you believed in. And there were times when Val stood alone. And it was because he was what he believed in. And it was because he was a public servant. Val always was a public servant, whether helping with the rodeo, serving on boards and commissions, serving on city council, again, serving with the UPass rodeo, or serving as mayor. Val was always ready to stand up and serve. Because of his passion, because of his purpose, because of his perseverance and his public service, my friend Val would sometimes come off as a little bit, prickly. But in truth, and this is my last P, Val Carr was a peach. He's a little fuzzy on the outside, but he was really sweet on the inside. Val cared a lot about people. Val cared about Woodland Park. And just like a peach, once you get past that fuzzy outside, you find a really sweet man inside. A man that deeply loved his wife, deeply loved his family, and deeply loved his community. And he did so in a way that will really leave an indelible mark on this city. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to not speak too long, even though I could speak for hours about Val and I and the city and Sherry and everything that we've experienced together and how well we've all known each other and grown together as friends. And I consider them family. And it's going to be really hard for me not to cry. Sorry. We were very good friends, better than most people probably realized. And we made much better friends than we did political constituents at times. And the community probably doesn't realize, oftentimes Val and I would fight on the dais. We would fight politically, and we would beat each other's throats. But the minute we were off, he was at my home, he was with us for holidays, and we always had fun together. And we got to be friends because even though we were complete opposites in the fact that he was a man, a jolly green giant, I'm tiny and a girl, we could outcuss one another. We would outfight one another, and then we would both forgive each other. And you can't ask for a better friendship than that you can disagree and forgive. And he was one of those people. And he was also not the person who everyone knew as a political figure versus the person he was behind closed doors. He was a very caring, very thoughtful, very concerned person. He always called to check on my mom, who lives with us. He loved my dogs. He made sure that if I ever needed anything while my husband was gone because he's a pilot, I would know that I could call Val and Sherry for any help that I ever needed. And you just couldn't ask for a better person. And we owe a debt of great gratitude to you guys, to his family, because he gave this community an incredible amount of his time. And I wish that he would have had more time with you all. But this was his passion, and he did live it, and he died living it. And that is fortunate because not all of us get to have that. And not all of our communities in our nation get to have someone who cared as much as he cared about this community. And there could be people who disagreed with him, but you could not negate the passion that he had for us in this community. He served it well, and he loved it very, very much. And he loved his friends, and he loved his family very much. And even though his children don't know me, I feel like I know all of you. I know your grandchildren. I know everything about you guys because he always talked about you. And I'm sorry that I never got to meet you until today. I wish it would have been under different circumstances. But thank you for being here. Thank you for giving him to us. We really do appreciate it. And Sherry, thank you, because you sacrificed an amazing amount of time with him to allow him to serve us. And we appreciate it greatly. So with that, the city has done a plaque in honor of our mayor, and we're going to go ahead and reveal it today. And it's a little small, so when you get a chance, do come up and see. This is just an example. There will be a bronze plaque that we'll be placing here in honor of Val, and we are more than happy to be able to do it. And I know that Val would be absolutely thrilled that all of you were here today, that his buddy was here today, and thank you all very much for coming out. So with that, I'm going to step away, and if you want, please feel free to come up and look at the plaque, and it will be placed permanently in a bronze. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hilary. And just one final thought that impressed me as Commissioner Stone was speaking was one thing I hope everyone can leave with, and that I will, is the great love that Val had for Sherry. In the very first meeting I had with Val when I had first gotten here, he told me that I'm married to an amazing woman who I completely do not deserve, and she is the light of my life, and she's everything I'm not. And he wanted me to know just how precious Sherry was to him and to the family. So, Sherry, I want you to know that was the first thing on his lips when he talked to me. So, and one other kind of neat little fact, I understand that the bolo that the mayor was wearing in this picture, Sherry is now kind of turned into a necklace, right? And so she has over her heart today. Just kind of a neat little thing to take home. So I appreciate everyone being here. This is the conclusion of the service here today. As mentioned before, I would ask that you give the Carr family a chance to get up, to check out the plaque replica here, if they like, and then get a chance to depart, and then we'll ask that everyone else go about their day, come check out the plaque. And thank you once again for being here. Please, if you're visiting, please enjoy our beautiful community here. hopefully the weather will hold out for you to do that. Thank you, and have a great day.